All right, Trent from Last Quokka. Welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you for having me, Greg. It's nice to be here.
Yeah, you got a fabulous new album coming out on Friday, March 14, called Take the Fight to the Bastards. Um, Over what period of time did this album come together and where did you record it?
Um, we've got this pretty enjoyable album writing process at the moment, where we go away to this big I guess old fishing shack, but it's like two-story place up in the north of Perth near Lancelin, and we kind of just spend a few weekends there writing and noodling and having a few beers and a laugh, and that's kind of how the album started about 18 months ago. And it's been really enjoyable because we've been through a few member changes recently, and it's kind of the first time we've been able to kind of really like gel together. I mean, we had Red Dirt as our last album, but this was I guess this felt like us hitting our straps a little bit, and yeah, it was a really fun process. I think trying to or just happening to write faster, more punchier music, and yeah, I guess it's been that's been the process, and yeah, it's been really fun.
Yeah, it has a pretty big, powerful sound. Who produced it?
Yeah, so our guitarist Justin, who is one of the I wouldn't say new additions to the band. He's been with us for a few years now, but yeah, one of the later additions to the band. He's an absolute wizard on the sound. So he has produced it, which has been great, and he's really brought a lot to the band in that way. And I appreciate how big it sounds when I listen on my good headphones. I'm like, whoa, this is big, and it's fun.
Yeah. Politics in your music is pretty full on. Where does that come from? Were your parents politically inclined?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, Greg. I grew up in like the I guess, and this is no slight on my parents. They've been wonderful supporters of me throughout my life. Um, it was also a very apolitical household, very much of the middle class. And I guess I often had a sense personally. I was kind of growing up outside of, well, I was growing up within a group of people that I didn't quite understand, didn't quite get me. And while that wasn't political in its most obvious sense, it was kind of the groundwork for me becoming more political because I think I started listening to like punk rock music, like Fat Records, kind of skate punk in grade 10. And as a kid, it wasn't quite fitting in with his context. And then starting to hear about, genocides around the world and I guess like the atrocities that like this capitalist system kind of perpetuates. I was kind of like, aren't you? Isn't everyone else seeing this? Like, is this just me? So I guess being an outsider and then being exposed to politics personally, like it started to build a bit of importance to me. And it was then when I started working or even just studying as a counselor, and I was you know, therapists and counseling work. We have a very political work that we do. Like we're working with people that have been let down by society, people have been let down by the systems. And I was through that work, I started to realize that like not everybody had as much luck and fortune as me in my upbringing. Um, and I started thinking more and more about the systems that kind of allow that to be. And I think the systems that allow that to be are really like present in like every kind of power structure that we interact with every day. And I guess it all started kind of cascading from there. So I guess a long story short is punk rock was where the politics came from. But I also think feeling on the outside for most of my childhood also helped me gain an understanding of that as well.
So putting the band together, was it all mates with the same sort of values?
Yeah, so I've been friends with Ray, our bass guitarist, for since we were almost teenagers, rocking it out at Amplifier Bar here in Perth, which is a late night kind of muso dive bar. And we just kind of been friends, and I guess my like closer friendship circle always had this kind of running joke that because I often have had a lot to say, and I've always been a big supporter of our local music scene that I should have a go at doing some vocals for a band. The only problem was like I couldn't sing then, and I still can't sing, and um, I'll have to say, doing an interview for Australian musician is quite funny for me because I my musical ability is probably less than most people who've never played an instrument before. So like there was this kind of joke that this like tone deaf political friend of ours needs a platform and a stage, and that was kind of all it was for a while. And um, one of my friends was living with Ray, and he was like, "Man, you should just message Ray. He's just starting a new band. Just message him and see." And I was like, "Oh, but I can't sing." And like, he's like, "Yeah, punk rock man." I was like, "Whatever, I'll give it a crack." So I messaged Ray. He was like, "Yeah, come down." And we kind of jammed with I think before I got there, they were making this post rocky music like violins and all this kind of stuff. And the day I turned up there, it happened to be Jose on drums, Kirill on guitar, Ray on bass, and then me. I'd jump onto the vocals, and I was like, I can't bring any vocal skill to a post rock band. Like, I'm just gonna have to punk this. So I wrote some punk lyrics, and we just started kind of shouting and ranting as I do, and it kind of felt good. Jose, the drummer at the time, he didn't tell me this for many years later. He was like, "This guy can't sing. Let's get him as far away from this band as we possibly can." But somehow I stuck around. I'm like a bad smell. I stuck around, and I don't know, friggin' 12, 13 years later, here we are still talking about Last Quokka. So I
Yeah.
guess that's kind of the origin story of the band. And yeah, it's still funny for me to reflect on. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be a great punk energy coming out of Australia at the moment. You've got Amel and the Sniffers leading the way globally. Do you think as
Yeah.
politics becomes dirtier, the music becomes angrier?
That's a great question. I think to some extent, my point of view would be that politics has always been pretty dirty. I think we're just more aware of it now because of the access we have to what's going on, like through social media and like just the constant news cycle. That we can see how dirty politics is, and I think that does make a system, our society, feel angry, right? And punk has been there for 50 plus years, 60 years, as 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 a mechanism for expressing that anger artistically. So I I think you're right. Like I think there is very much a link between us seeing how dirty politics is, how corrupt. I mean, in WA, like we have the most corrupt state government in Australia. We have like this revolving door of premiers and ex state cabinet ministers leaving office, and within 6 months they're working for BHP or Woodside or, and then these are the people approving oil and gas decisions, right? So yeah, politics is so dirty. And over here in WA, we've got a nice, I guess, a nice building music scene that is like starting to talk about just how dirty these things are. And I think you're right. Like punk music definitely has its roots in us realizing how horrible our system is.
Yeah. You guys are a really hard-working band. You've just come off a tour with DZ Death Rays, just about to head
Yeah.
out with the Peep Temple. How did the Death Rays thing go, and how are the new songs going down?
Thanks for acknowledging that we're hardworking. I just watched your interview before with the who was it, the Babies?
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, and they were like celebrating their 50-year anniversary, and I was like, oh my God, if I was doing Last Quokka for 50 years, I don't know if I'd be alive. So I was pretty impressed to hear about that, hear him still rocking out, playing festivals and stuff. That's so cool. So yeah, I guess 13 years of it. It's been a whirlwind, and we have worked really hard. Um, we jam almost every week, sometimes twice a week. We constantly wanting to create together because I think what we have is a really good vibe. And it was nice to tour with DZ Death Rays. Actually, they're really great people. Uh, Being so hardworking and touring as much as we do meet a whole variety of different people. And bands like Amel and the Sniffers, DZ Death Rays, like it's just they're just mates the moment you meet them and want to hang out and have a beer and a chat and a laugh, and people that genuinely care about the experience of the bands they're touring with and the venues that have them on, the staff working at those venues. I found that really enjoyable vibe, and I feel like I've made friends for life there. And Peep Temple as well, like that's going to be sick. Last time we played with Peep Temple was the release of Joy, and now it's like Um, Now it's like 10 years later, and we're playing at the anniversary. So it's pretty whack, and I'm yeah really excited for those shows as well.
So how much of the new album will you be playing?
A lot actually. We probably would have liked to play more. But we're still working on a couple of the tracks to get them right live. But I think we've got probably six or seven out of maybe six out of the 11 tracks on the album we'll be playing live. And again, that keeps it interesting for the people that have been on the East Coast and seen us before, and it also keeps it interesting for us as well. And we want to keep putting music out there and music on the stage that people enjoy and connect with. And I find as we keep writing music that we connect with more, and it's why we like playing our new stuff as much as possible because it's the best representation of who we are.
Yeah. You've added Dion Mariani to the band on guitar recently. Is having a Mariani in your band a bit like having a Chapel in your cricket team or a Rioli footy team?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the interviews I've been doing in the lead up to this album. Dion gets brought up a lot. I think having Uncle Dom is very uh it's clearly in the genes, right? And he's an absolute professional, Dion, and I'm sure Dom's the same. He comes to jams straight away as we added into the band, like knowing the songs, knowing what he can bring, communicating really well, and you can tell he comes from great music stock. And yeah, it's definitely like having one of the Chapel brothers in the team for sure.
Let's talk about a few of the tracks on the new album. Save Our Pubs, which was a single. What do you remember as the glory days of Australian pubs, and which pubs in particular have the bastards ruined?
Yeah. So I guess growing up in as like a teenager in my early 20s and teenager around Perth, we had venues like the front room of the Hyde Park Hotel, or like the Flying Scotsman in Mount Lawley as well. These were like the Heidi. We see bands there for $5. We saw DD Dums there for $5 regularly. They went on to become Tame Impala. We would see like all these awesome local bands, and Perth was even more isolated than 15 years ago than it is now. So the music that was being created was just so artistic and really cool. And these pubs with their like beautiful old carpet and timber beams and character, and the old mates at the bar that go there every day and have their sense of community as well. This is kind of what we were used to in our live music venues. And now the Heidi has been renovated or half demolished and renovated by ALH. Same happened to the Flying Scotsman. And I'm kind of sick of seeing these beautiful old community spaces for people that may not even feel like they've got anywhere else to go. That they can go there and have a beer with their mates and have a chat and hang out as a regular, like become completely gentrified and taken over by yuppies, and those beautiful timber bars are replaced by plastic bars. The beautiful timber floors are taken over by like lino, and it's just kind of like it's just void of character. So we want to put an end to it.
Yeah. Mura Juga, obviously a song close to your heart. Tell me about that song.
Yeah, so Murajuga is it's a wonderful part of our country's or yeah, our country's history. Um it's effectively a rock formation just near Karratha in WA's north. And it's got like over a million all the when you first go there, you just see these jagged rocks piled up, sticking out of like the ground everywhere, and it's quite formidable in and of itself. But also on top of that, for tens and tens of thousands of years, the highest people in Aboriginal law, the mob that there's five mobs there that share that kind of Murujuga in that country, would engrave their history, their knowledge, and their learnings on these rocks. There's over a million pieces of individual artwork at Murujuga that reflect like knowledge that's 60,000 years old. There's like engravings of ancient megafauna not seen on the like in Australia or non-existent now or in WA for thousands of years, right? Like it's an incredible place. There's diagrams of how to skin a kangaroo, how to do how to do this, how the seasons change, and it's pretty special. And the really sad thing about Murujuga is when you're standing there and observing it and like really having your moment of wow, you can hear this faint hum in the background. And just on its doorstep, like maybe 2 kilometers away, you turn around and there is a fertilizer plant just spewing out all this toxic gas. Um, and work has already been done to show that this fertilizer plant is directly impacting on Murujuga. These engravings are fading, and they're fading really fast. Um, and Woodside, who are a huge oil and gas company over here, they're expanding their productions up there as well. And it's not just Murujuga that's a threat, but all the country up there is under threat, and it's quite magical country and magical place. I saw videos recently of when Woodside initially built their Pluto plant up there a few decades ago of bulldozers going through Murujuga, these rock formations, and just abolishing them. And you can see engravings in the diggers bucket being dumped into trash. And I'm getting emotional now thinking about it because yeah, it's pretty shocking to see. And when you've been there and you understand the place and you've spoken to the mob up there and how important it is to them, it's quite hard to see. So that song is I guess it's an ode to that country there, and to the mobs up there resisting industry, but it's also gratitude to the organization called Disrupt Borough Pub, who have been operating down here for a couple of years, really taking the fight to Woodside through direct action and other mechanisms, and making it. This has been going on in the north of WA for decades, and now thanks to the work Disrupt Borough Pub have been doing after Woodside announced the expansion, we all know, everyone in Perth knows what's happening on the Burrup Peninsula. It's made it a conversation starter, and it's made it a political issue. And I know that Disrupt Borough Pub, but they're not going to stop until industry up there is completely stopped, and we need to take the fight to them. And that's, I guess, that's what the song's about.
Yeah, and for people who want to know more about the website Disrupt Borough Hub, that's basically
Yeah.
the URL, isn't it? Disruptboroughhub.com is that right?
Yeah, if you exactly disruptboroughpub.com. But even if you just Google Disrupt Borough Pub, the first things that come up are the web page, the Instagram page, and you can learn more information there. There's a few chuffed campaigns. I was my partner and I were raided by counter-terrorist police last year for our involvement in this campaign. They had like 6 male cops, SSIG, counter-terrorist police, standing around reading my partner's journals from when she was in school and stuff. I've been dragged through court. I got found guilty of criminal damage, and there is some serious crimes serious allegations still being fought in court at the moment by Disrupt Borough Pub campaigners. So the donations really help. The donations helped me because it meant that I could keep doing what I was doing without having to face financial consequence of standing up. So, I guess if people are interested, do some reading up on this through Disrupt Borough Pub webpage or Instagram, just by Googling those words. And if you feel inclined to and are able to, please donate to the campaign because it helps us keep fighting to protect this important part of country.
Yeah. Um, your treatment by the police, I suppose, made it easier to write the song "Stupid White Bastard" as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. Like our music's always been really political, and the last album, Red Dirt, before this one, I must have found a momentary sense of peace because that album was very much about um, love of our land, and love of the beautiful parts of Australia. And it was very much a love album. And then this album comes out, and the rage is back, I think, and probably bigger than ever because yeah, it's not been an easy ride. We left WA for a while, my partner and I, just to take a break because we were being bullied by the police. So yeah, Stupid White Bastard was easy. When I saw Sam Kerr calling the cop in England stupid and white, and I was like, I love you, Sam Kerr. You're such a legend. And yeah, that's what it's about. I mean, look at her story as well. Like her and her partner, And she's a woman of color, and her partner's a woman as well. And that's important in the context of like you've got this cabbie in London, this male cabbie in London, who has locked you inside a taxi, isn't letting you escape. Um, you break a window or try to break a window to get out, and the police arrest her. Again, white male police officers arrest her for trying to damage the taxi and not the cab driver for kidnapping. And this is the kind of shit we see all the time. That the police missing their power to support the dominant hegemony, I guess. And yeah, so it was great to see Sam Kerr's act of resistance in that moment. I really appreciate that. And it shows to the rest of us that we don't have to put up with this shit from the police. Like the police forever have just been used historically as a mechanism to keep the rich wealthy and to keep us disempowered. So Sam Kerr resisting, Disrupt Borough Pub resisting, like we can all resist. And I guess it's fun. It was good to see Sam Kerr doing that, and it was great to support her with the song that we put out, "Stupid White Bastard."
Yeah. So you've got this tour coming up with Peep Temple. What's on then for the rest of 2025, and what's the grand plan for Last Quokka?
Yeah, so the Peep Temple shows are going to be really, really awesome. It's also going to be our album release. So we've got a few of our own shows coming up in Queensland, Brisbane, Lismore, and then yeah, we're doing a standalone show in Sydney and Melbourne as well. And then obviously these awesome shows with Peep Temple, who really are so excited to tour with. And then after that, I'm trying to think, but really for me, I think it's about getting back to writing again, creating some more music, and get away to that big fishing shack in the north and have some beers and reconnect and take a breath, right, and just enjoy the writing process again, and just go again, and hopefully in our 50-year anniversary you'll be interviewing us again. And
We'll have to keep that promise.
yeah, please do.
All right, Trent, it's been great to catch up and learn more about the band. All the best with the album and the tour, and we'll catch you next time.
Really appreciate that, Greg. Thanks so much.